Und dann können wir eine erste Klappe machen.
Seid ihr, habt ihr?
Ja. Super.
So rührend, dass die ganze digitale Technik immer noch
Ja, klappt.
das, was sie seit Beginn des Mediums
Ja.
machen.
Thank you very much for coming today to have this conversation. I would like to talk to you very much about the things that may be similar or different in our respective professions.
Well, thank you for having me, most of all.
The first thing that is obvious that we have in common, you as an actor and me as a musician, is that we have to deal with text. How do we learn the text? What do we have to do in order to then make the text our own and yet be faithful to what the composer or the writer has written? And I think it will be interesting for the public to hear also a little bit about the process that we go through, because it's not a mechanical process.
The first thing is probably a decision on what level you want to compare or find analogies or discrepancies or differences. Because of course you could say, well, one doesn't have anything to do with the other, because a musician usually is an accomplished artist who's operating on the highest level. And I would always say that the actor isn't. I would always say the actor is, if at all, at the bottom of the spectrum, but maybe not in the spectrum at all.
I don't think I meant it to be discussed on the question of the level, of the quality, because that you have in acting and musicians also, people of different levels with different degrees of interest in depth, interest in understanding the text, looking for what they can do for themselves, looking how they can contribute to the text. One thing is clear that we have in common, and ours is much more complicated than yours.
That's exactly what
because
I mean.
you have words. So of course, words can be spoken in so many different ways and by the same person in different ways at different times, but the words are the same. And it's clear what they mean according to how you, well, yes, but a table is a table.
Yeah.
You write about a table, but we have black spots on white paper. And nobody will ever convince me that that's what you can buy in the music shop in the days when there were music shops. Is the Fifth Symphony by Beethoven. The Fifth Symphony by Beethoven is when an orchestra gets together and makes this sound. Therefore, the process of how to get to how to play the sounds is very intricate.
Yeah, I totally agree. And in let's say dramatic literature, it's the same thing in terms of ink on paper. You know, the letters on paper are not really the drama, because the drama is traditionally meant to be performed on stage. Yet, I can read the drama, but you can read the score. And it's not what it was written for, but as a stage to get there, that would be an analogy. I just think everybody uses words all the time. So words are familiar. And that's very misleading. If I see a note on 5 lines, I mean, I personally don't assume immediately I know exactly what it is, and that's how and that's how I deal with it. With words, because we learn when we're a year and a half, we start to learn words, so we always think we know words. There are an infinitive amount of possibilities to say it. Now, the intention of the author is, or should be, or can be, the guiding idea. Every note is there for a reason. And the accumulation of the notes result in the text. It's more or less analog to every letter is there for a reason, and the accumulation of the letters result in the drama.
Of course, but precisely because of what you say about the familiarity with the words, it is clear that a text has a meaning.
Right.
It is either about the woods or about a love story or about a crime or whatever it is. What is the meaning of music? How can you cannot really explain that. This will always remain the mystery of music because in a way it is in the end abstract.
The unanswered question.
The unanswered question. And therefore we cannot speak about that. I think when we speak about music, we speak about our reaction to it. You know? You listen to a performance of the G minor symphony of Mozart and you are in a melancholic mood, and this will seem to you the most melancholic piece of music ever written. You hear the same performance when you are high and you will feel this is happy music and etc., etc. Therefore, it's very dangerous to talk about the meaning of music. But I think what we could talk about is what is our responsibility versus the text, what we have to give it, how much personal involvement, if you want, is allowed or necessary, where does it stop? In other words, the fidelity to the text is the first quality that we must have if we want to perform the text.
I would agree, but because I'm an old conservative fart, that's why I agree immediately. I'm convinced that there are plenty of self-declared revolutionaries and iconoclasts who say, no, it's my interpretation that counts more. I saw a poster not too long ago here in Berlin. It was a red poster. And it had, I won't tell you who, the name of the director, big, like this, a third of the poster. It was the name of the director. Then, a little smaller, it said Don Giovanni, and then tiny, it said Mozart. Yeah, well, actually, you need to turn it around. Exactly that. Mozart, Don Giovanni. So I'm completely against it, but I'm in that respect I am very conservative. I wonder why they don't write their own pieces to actually have a radically different idea about something is a wonderful impetus and motivation to write a piece. I like Don Giovanni, but I don't really want to hear the Mozart music, and I also don't like the fact that Don Giovanni is a man. It should be Donna Giovanna, and also the contour should be the little brother. And I said, great, it's all wonderful. Write a piece.